Hey, it's John Willis again, Batchkaloop. This is the series that we're doing is of Devopsdays Ghent 5-year video series where I'm going out and some of the people that were really made an impression on me and while I was there, and then also I think made an impression on the world with just going out and talking about. So I have Chris Reed here. I'm a big fan of Chris, if you haven't noticed. Anyway, Chris, welcome to this 5-minute thing. First question: so, how did you wind up in Ghent 5 years ago?
So it's quite a funny story. I've been involved with the KitCons, the Continuous Integration and Testing Conferences, in Europe. So I've been going to them for a little while. They're just a pure open space conference, and Patrick had been going to them as well. And between Patrick, Julian Simpson, and myself, we decided that it would be really great if we could do a talk on kind of bringing infrastructure and sysadmin into CI and kind of doing agile sysadmin kind of talk. And so Patrick and I, for a while, had kind of tried but failed to do a joint talk submission to one of the agile conferences and stuff like that, and never actually succeeded in pulling it off. And so what happened then was I got an email from Patrick saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this kind of conference. Do you think anyone will come? And I'm like, well, I'll certainly be there. And so he organized it all, and I sent out the email. So it's like, yeah, he'd organized the space, and he got space for about 50 people to come over. And so I was like, yeah, I'll be there, and got the tickets booked and got all the travel sorted out. And he's like, you want to talk at this thing? So I'm like, yeah, I'll do a talk on some of the stuff that I was doing. And so yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. I kind of thought of it as a good extension of the KitCon days. And yeah, I thought it would be great to go, and so I did.
Well, it's cool because I'm thinking back. I went back and looked at your original presentation, and I'm pretty sure at the time I had no earthly idea what you were talking about, Mr. DevOps expert Batchkaloop. I remember Lindsay because he was talking about Flapjack. I was talking to Lindsay. We just did the one the other day, and the whole thing was blowing my mind, right? It just come off doing Tivoli stuff for forever, and all you young guys just blowing my mind left and right. But one of the things I think I always try to point out is I've gone back and been sort of a historian for DevOps, and in my first attempt at it, I missed a critical artifact, which is that you, Jez, and Dan North, 2006 or 7, had really defined what we kind of worship now as the pipeline, right?
Yep. Yeah, that was quite funny, and it's actually the one memory I have of meeting you is at that very first day of Devopsdays in Ghent. I sat right behind you, and you're like this little kid bouncing up and down in your seat, literally, because you're so excited. And it reminded me of that talk in 2006, because that talk that Jez, Dan, and I did, we had this room full of people, and we're doing the talk, and basically right in the front row was Mary Poppendick, and she was bouncing up and down in her chair with the same kind of degree of excitement while it seemed to kind of wash over everyone else in the room.
Wow.
It just reminded me of Mary Poppendick the way.
Wow, there you go. Wow, that's a ridiculously great compliment. But I was ready to give up. Really, I think I was going to start selling shoes. I was so frustrated with just IT in general, and Tivoli was just a dirty way to make a living. And when I showed up there, it blew my mind. So so that was my kind of next question is. I think everybody, this kind of core group of people, or really anybody was there, but certainly the people that I've stayed in contact, you, Chris, Patrick, Stefan, the whole gang, Ari. But what was your, tell me, your kind of, it blew you away factor of that conference?
Kind of big thing for me was that, I'd struggled to find other people to talk to about some of the things that I was doing and was going around in my head, and it was awesome to find such a big clump of people so close to me, especially the London bunch. Dean and Ari and the other guys who were all very close together. We started meeting up for lunch in London after that. just finding out that A, there were so many people near me, but B, so many people throughout Europe going through the same thing, thinking the same things, and kind of, even, down from Australia, there's, people come all the way from there just to show us the cool stuff they're doing down under, and it's like, that's awesome. We're not alone. We can do this.
Yeah, that was, I think, that one of the themes that's popping up was, we use the word DevOps, but it was, Lindsay had said that it seemed like we finally had a common language to work around, right? There was this kind of common thought, the way we thought, and then we were putting words around things that, like, we all knew made sense. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because if you think about, kind of agile sysadmin or infrastructure as code and all that, they're big, clumsy words to say. And Patrick just flew out DevOps. It's like, yeah, there you go. That's nice and catchy, and people can gather around it.
A nice stake in the ground. Well, I mean, so the other thing I think was cool about that is, I think we had, Lindsay going back to Australia and starting stuff up there. You guys, the whole gang of you guys from London. In fact, I think the next time I really got to know you was I was doing Canonical work. I was working for, not Canonical work for Canonical. And I just tweeted out, hey, I'm here, and I think it was you or one of the guys there said, hey, we're doing this Ruby meetup, why don't you show up? And I got to hang out with you guys all night, and I really got to know a bunch of you guys, and I think we went to lunch even like a few days later. In fact, that lunch was where, because Patrick had been asking me to do what I thought about doing the Devopsdays in the U.S., and I'd been kind of mulling around, and one of the guys at that luncheon basically said, well, why don't you do it with Velocity? And I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I work with Jesse Robbins, who was the chair of Velocity. Like, yeah. So I actually from there went right back and asked Jesse if he thought O'Reilly would be mad if we did a Devopsdays. But that was kind of cool.
Yeah, very awesome.
What what do you think about the last 5 years? I mean, these are horrible questions, but I definitely, I look for you. Use the dirty word, thought leader. I don't care. Slap me around, but I mean, you are a thought leader in my book. So what do you think? Give me your impression of the last 5 years.
I'm just amazed at how fast it's caught on with the mainstream. I had gotten the guys, chewing my leg off, 6 months after that conference. People were really, really interested in what's going on. And I was expecting something more like, the continuous integration trend. It started talking about CI, and just no one was getting it. It took a long time for continuous integration and XP and Agile and all those things to really gain traction. And what just took me totally by surprise was how fast this whole DevOps thing caught on, and how fast the snake oil salesman came out of the woodwork, and people were trying, come out here, I'll sell you the DevOps. And that was probably the big surprise for me. But also what's been great for me is just seeing the different ways that people are trying to solve the problems. The different tools that are coming out of the woodwork are fantastic. There's always a new one that pops out that kind of grabs me. It's like, that's an awesome idea. Or even some great ones where, I dabbled in the area, and not being a great developer, I'd kind of given up, and then a while later someone else pops up with a tool that does pretty much the same thing, but 10 times better than I'd ever be able to make it work. Things like that have been really great for me.
Yeah, I think, I was just thinking as you were talking, I'm thinking, I mean, I know it's kind of a token that we say we attribute a lot of this to Patrick, but I think Patrick starting this as an open, because I'm thinking, as you're saying, it's sharing, right? Sharing has been a common thread throughout DevOps, right? The people don't hide things in DevOps, right? Like, I get this stealth startup, well, don't come. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, right? and so it's been a phenomenal, just the event itself has been this ridiculous sharing. But I think Patrick, picking a model that was used and being kind of a guardian of the model is like allowed, like you say, all these people doing interesting things. The reason we do that is people just show up loaded to share, That's pretty cool. So the future. What does the future hold for DevOps?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to finding out. To me, one of my biggest frustrations right now is, I'm still dealing with bare metal every day. You know, and everything seems to be becoming more and more cloud centric. And I mean, you know me, I've done cloud talks for years. I love the cloud, but there's still, and there's still going to be for a long time, a bunch of us who have to deal with the metal every day. And to build some of the tooling around that is kind of where I've been focused, just trying to improve the tools, improve bits and pieces, because you get things like Chaos Monkey and the whole Simian Army, which is all very tightly coupled to AWS. It's very tightly coupled to that. So I've been building one myself that we're using internally for now, just aimed at bare metal, being able to, panic machines or do various bits of degradation on physical machines, get the same results out. Because the value in doing that kind of thing is there. It's the same. It's just trying to find the mechanisms, the latches, and the tools in it. So I'd like to see, it's never going to be the mainstream. It's never going to be the core, but I'd like to at least see it here for people dealing with the metal to apply all the lessons that everyone else has learned out in the cloud, because they still need to be disposable fodder, your machines that you're dealing with. There's how you interact with them changes.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, depending on the trends of things, I mean, metal could be making a comeback, right? I won't say the dreaded word that gets used in every breath of oxygen in the last like 6 months. But if you know what that word is, it could be putting metal back on the map, if you will. So,
yep.
So, well, cool. So, so tell everybody. Most people who know you, I think most people come here. But what do you do? Where do you work?
So yeah, I work for a trading company in Chicago called DRW. I'm technically, my title is senior systems engineer, but that kind of means very little. What I do day to day is I'm looking after some of our research infrastructure. So I'll be doing networking. I'll be dealing with servers. I'll be doing sysadmin. I'll be developing in some of the code that we use. And the language could be, I could be doing C one day and Python the next, and trying to redesign our network architecture to get rid of the next bottleneck that we found in hoofing our data around. So bits of everything.
And for you people that don't know, Chris is the real deal. I mean, there's just no way to put him out. Watch his videos, go back. In fact, if we ever publish the DevOps cookbook, there's a whole section that I worked on that Chris gave me pretty much almost all. Dan Nimick from Silverpop gave me some too, but on basically embedded engineers and all that. And so, Chris has been doing that for forever. So, well, awesome, dude. Good. I look forward. You going to Ghent, right?
I've registered for Ghent. Currently, U.S. visa situation is making the travel plans a bit hairy. So if I can get all that sorted out, then I will definitely be there.
It wouldn't be the same without you, buddy. All right. Well, thank you. Cool.
Thanks, man. We'll see you.